what I'm hearing, if they didn't have the debt level that they're facing, I think I read Journal Register is $680 million debt, the Tribune Company in the billions. You think that they wouldn't be under the constraints, or do you still think that we'd be seeing some of the layoffs and the constriction going on?
Without a doubt, almost all newspaper companies have lower profits today than they have in the past because sales have been quite weak in most of the major categories, especially in recruitment advertising, auto advertising, and certainly real estate in the last year or so. So all newspapers would have lower profits. Almost all of them would have lower profits this year than historically has been the case.
Mm-hmm.
And so in that sense, that's one level of the problem. The other level of the problem is, again, as I said, some newspaper companies, including Tribune and Journal Register, borrowed quite a bit of money to buy more properties. In the case of the Tribune Company, they borrowed essentially more than $12 billion to acquire the company and take it private. And now, because the profitability is falling below historic levels and sales are shrinking at unprecedented rates, they're caught in a downward spiral that's going to continue to reduce profitability and make them unable to generate the cash necessary to pay off those debts. There's another factor for newspapers, which is they have the extremely high cost increases in newsprint, which is one of their major cost centers, obviously, as well as fuel to deliver papers, as everybody and every business has. And so they're squeezed on lower revenues, higher costs, and shrinking profitability.
Again, the Hartford Courant, they're laying off a bunch of people tomorrow. They're going through this redesign. All the Tribune newspapers are going through redesign of creating a new paper. Is that the way to go, or these economic factors that you've been talking about? It doesn't matter how you redesign the newspaper. It's actually the redesign needs to go or happen essentially under the hood.
Well, the chief problem for newspapers is that the revenues that they historically have counted on have stopped happening.
Mm-hmm.
And the industry's had double-digit revenue declines. In the first half of this year, it had altogether a 9.5% decline in print advertising revenues in the year 2007. The year before that, they had another decline. So, advertising dollars that used to be pretty reliably flowing into newspapers, that flow has been constricted. If the advertising dollars continue to shrink, then the newspapers will become more troubled than they are today. If they can turn around that situation by selling new kinds of advertising, or everybody just wakes up one day and decides they all want to advertise in newspapers again, then the industry can be saved from where it is now. But most of the long-term trends suggest that there'll be fewer dollars going into newspapers, relatively speaking, than there had been in the past. But again, if a newspaper is well managed in terms of giving a good product to the readers and good value to the advertisers, then I think newspaper business can be a very good business in most places for a long, long time to come.
Wow, you're much more optimistic, and a lot of my print friends would love to hear that. I don't know. I guess I'm of the mindset that the vehicle of the newspaper isn't where the action is. I have an 18 and 16-year-old. They never read the newspaper, and my 9 and 8-year-old, they don't even know really what the newspaper is, even though we get it delivered every single day. Moving forward, the next generation of news consumers, will they pick up the newspaper? And will that be as attractive to the advertisers?
Yeah, I think a lot depends on how well newspapers respond to the need to enhance their relevance. So, for example, you're an 18-year-old, and I have an 18-year-old too, has zero interest in the newspaper, but when my 18-year-old is 28 years old and owns a house and has a mortgage and pays property taxes and is worried about things like that, then maybe she will start to pick up the newspaper, at least insofar as a newspaper that does a good job of covering her community. And one of the problems is that in in the effort on the part of newspaper companies to shore up their profitability at a time of shrinking sales, is they've been cutting back on the editorial product, both literally the size of the newspaper, the number of pages that carry news versus advertising, which is called the news hub, as well as cutting back on the number of staff members available to write stories. So newspapers are, and I think this has been a particular problem with the Tribune Company, it's cut very deeply into the quality of the editorial product, and so the most discerning readers are going to very quickly discern that the newspaper isn't as good as it used to be, and it's going to make them think about whether they want to continue to subscribe. So if you start putting out a bad product or a less good product, people will stop buying it. And the proof of that is Chrysler, General Motors, Ford. These are people who stopped putting out good products that were in tune with what the market needs, and now they're struggling. So you don't have to look at just newspapers, but I can tell you that, a product that came in at a very low price that had tons of useful information about your community, both commercial information and events and politics and taxes and, the quality of the water and what was happening at the school. If I told you I had an idea to start a company to do this and put it in front of your door every morning before you got up in the morning so you could have it with your coffee and it required no power supply, I think you'd think that was a pretty good idea.
Mm-hmm. Moving forward with, I guess, the most immediate concern here in this area with the Register, a possible sale, is it sellable? I mean, basically, someone is not just buying that product that has the potential to be profitable, they also are inheriting debt, and is that going to be pretty much the roadblock in trying to sell this?
I think there will be people available to buy things at bargain prices. As I said to somebody in a call earlier today, there are always buyers for good bargains. Will they pay what the paper used to be worth or what the company used to be worth 3 years ago? No, they won't. But at a certain price, it's a very interesting business. And again, the almost all Journal Register papers and Tribune papers have tremendous power in their markets and have almost no competition for the most part at the right price. If you have a plan to run the business well and you have a financing that is affordable, it's a pretty good deal. Just the analog is real estate. My niece and her husband have just finished medical school and moving to a new community, and they're looking to buy a house, and they're doctors, and they're going to make 6 figures each, and they're looking at houses that used to sell for $500,000 and or more, and they can buy them for $200,000. So is that that house was a great house, at $500,000, it's even a better house at $200,000. So it's the same thing for the newspapers. At the right price, with the right financial structure, these can continue to be decent, growing businesses. On the other hand, if the newspapers don't make themselves compelling for their communities and for their advertisers, and if circulation continues to shrink and sales continue to wither, and profitability blows away, then yes, we'll come to the day when there's no newspaper. Again, it doesn't even have to be a print product. It could be delivered in a different way. It could be delivered on Kindle, on the web, on cell phones. The business of gathering information about a community and marrying it with relevant advertising information in a community, that's always going to be a great business. If newspaper companies are smart, they will come to understand how to do it effectively in this day and age in a way that your 18-year-old and my 18-year-old will care about the newspaper. And if they persist on trying to pretend it's 1957 and have TV is still black and white and we all wear skinny ties to work, then yes, they will go out of business.